Welcome to the pursuit of truth. I was just watching Sky News. I'm going to give you these 3 stories. I think they're quite relevant. That's quite interesting. The first one's about plastics found in humans, which goes to show that what damage we're doing to the oceans, we're doing to the animals, and then we're doing to ourselves. And they won't, no one's going to sort of say, oh, manufacturers aren't suddenly going to stop doing the things that they're doing that are causing us this trouble. Then the next one is about the Saudi issue, which seems very suspicious, the way they've got this body double. Is it a body double, or is the real journalist still alive and they're just faking this? I don't know. It's just a really weird story. Maybe it's a bit of exposure of how governments work, but it's interesting how they talk about selling arms, and they don't think about doing that is a bad thing, to be selling arms in this day and age. And also the fact that you'll hear the white guys say, oh, it's about us, we can't make the world a better place. The world is a worse place because of our involvement, British involvement, all the damage we've done around the world, splitting up countries and creating this system. We're the least people to do that. And then the next one is about organic food and cancer. Here.
Newspapers, Michelle Dewey and Mark Dolan are here with their pick of the stories inside them. And we are going to start, Mark, with this new study that tells us what we expected to find out, really, given what we've discovered in the Sky Ocean Rescue campaign.
Yeah.
That we have plastic inside us. It's worked its way up the food chain.
We should big up this network for the amazing work done with Ocean Rescue, drawing attention to the plastic in our oceans. The Daily Mail, I'm not normally a fan, but their plastic carrier bag campaign. There needs to be more of this, because the bottom line is, up till now, there's been certainly a concern about the idea of plastic in the oceans, just aesthetically, wildlife suffering terribly. Now it's us. We're actually poisoning ourselves, or so say the University of Vienna, who have, and apologies if you're on your breakfast, but they've been looking at stool samples and found, on average, 20 microplastic particles per 10 grams. Essentially, putting that in plain English, there is plastic in our poo, and it's all because of the seafood and because of the amount of packaging that our food is kept in. And ultimately, whilst we have watched with horror at other species suffering, it seems like ultimately we're the ones that are going to physically pay the price.
And Michelle, this is the plastic that works its way out of our system. There will be plastic still in there that experts say could damage the immune system and produce toxins inside us. And who knows where those toxins are going to lead to in terms of our long-term health.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? And I do think that I, myself, and most people I know have become real conscious now of plastics, how we use them, when we're buying stuff, how much plastic is around. And exactly like what you're saying about these microplastics, how dangerous are they to us? And I just think we need, in 2018, we should have alternates to plastic. It's not beyond the wit of man to be coming up with different packaging, different product things that don't have these levels of plastics in them. And I'm quite surprised that we've been so slow to adapt our packaging and stuff to get rid of plastic. Because I know a few people now, they won't have anything with plastic in their lives.
It's easier not to, wasn't it, for manufacturers, for the big supermarkets?
It eats into their profit margins, I guess.
And it cuts across the board in our lifestyle, because our clothing, there's so much polyester clothing now, which is, by the way, cheap. And with fast fashion, people like to change their look. I try to do that daily. There's a lot of expectation on what I'll be wearing on my next appearance. But the bottom line is, being serious, everything, we are basically, as a species, as a race, we are addicted to plastic. We've got to wean ourselves off it.
But consumer pressure, a lot of companies are starting to change their packaging as people are becoming more aware and asking more of big manufacturers. Let's have a look, Michelle, at the case of the murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The President of Turkey is speaking to MPs later on today, saying that he will reveal the naked truth about what happened to him, because there have been so many leaks. And the Daily Mail have got a double-page spread about the latest leaks that have come out.
I find this story absolutely, it's fascinating, because every day almost now, this story is taking a different twist and turn. Because originally, obviously, the journalist went missing. There's, it's just a complete blanket refusal to admit anything. You know, you can come and look in our cupboards in our embassy if you want. There's nothing in there. There's nothing to hide. Then eventually that turns into, yeah, okay, he did die in a fist fight. That eventually turns into, oh, yeah, okay, there was a rogue operation. And now it's turned into, you know, it seems so organised. You've got a guy going into the embassy, coming out wearing his clothes. When you actually track him around, he's got a fake beard on, then he goes into somewhere, dumps the clothes, comes out dressed differently. And it's really quite shocking. So they're saying that they're going to be looking into this situation. And you've got what people are calling the Davos in the desert at the moment. So you've got a lot of people that have actually tried to boycott that. People then say, well, what should we do as the UK? What should we actually do to Saudi Arabia as a regime? People talk about immediately you come into selling arms. Should we stop selling arms? And I know that things like Jeremy Corbyn, people like Jeremy Corbyn have come out and said immediately we should stop selling arms to Saudi. The challenge with that, and yeah, one would argue that we shouldn't be selling arms, and I know you've got a strong opinion on this as well.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you know, Saudi Arabia, they're going to buy those arms anyway. And if you actually, as I did last week, I was that bored, I read Saudi Arabia's 2030 Economic Development Plan. And when you look at that, they're really focused on creating their own arms internally. So actually, us saying we're not going to sell you arms, I don't think they'd care less, quite frankly.
It's a dangerous world. There's bad regimes out there. We have to operate within that. We can't make the world a better place single-handedly, and we have to get real about this. And I'd love Jeremy Corbyn to go and have a meeting with the unions who have to lay off thousands of workers who work in armaments in this country.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see.
I can't let that point go across without actually saying something. The audacity of this man to think that we can make the world a better place. And now Saudi Arabia's being called a regime. That's, you know, putting that word in the regime, you know, like they did with Iraq and Afghanistan, to make you see a different way other than the government, you know. But the fact that he's saying that, you know, somehow that we're the guys with the white hats and we can make the world a better place. We haven't done a very good job of it so far.
Politically, what happens in the West, depending on what the Turkish president says today, whether he points the finger of blame solely at the top of the Saudi regime. Let's talk about organic diets, Mark. This is on the front page of the Times.
That's right. People who eat organic diets are considered to be 25% less likely to get cancer, according to Paris University, who studied 70,000 people. And before you say anything about middle-class people, people with a disposable income, obviously organic food is more expensive, but actually this research looks at all genders, all ages, and all class backgrounds. And obviously a lot of it is clearly perhaps related to pesticides, but also there are other things that aren't understood about organic food. So, for example, organic grass-fed beef is higher in omega-3 fats. So it's not only that you'll be eating a diet that is probably less carcinogenic or cancer-causing, but actually just more nutritious. Organic broccoli has been proved to have more nutrients as well.
And as you say, organic food does cost more. Simple truth of it is, if you're buying organic food, the rest of your life is probably is almost certain to be of a better quality.
Well, no, definitely you raise a fair point there. What I think the answer is that as consumers, we pressurize food companies to, you know, go more organic. And my test case for that is free-range chickens, free-range eggs. Now, that at the start was a small take-up for people with money. But I think we can agree now, a free-range chicken, it costs fractionally more than a normal chicken. Hopefully, organic farming can go the same way.
OK, let's have a look.
It's funny, how is organic food more expensive? When you know, organic is actually natural, isn't it? You know, i.e. you don't inject the cows with injections to make them grow quicker and all this, you know, you don't feed them certain stuff to make them, you know, progress quicker. You don't do unnatural things. But now it's more expensive to just leave the chicken or the animal outside eating grass normally like it would normally have done. Now that's more expensive for us to pay for. Just a sophist way to get more money out of us. But the fact that there you are on the news, they talk about it. You know, they're trying to make out that it's to do with or other factors, but yeah, it's to do with what we eat. We've seen about the plastic, we've seen about that it causes cancer, and yet people are still carry on doing it, and the government and the manufacturers will still carry on selling it, knowing of its detriment to our health. Take care, take it easy, God bless in peace.